Hello, hello, my beauties and bees, and welcome once again to another installment of Cryptic Corner, where we explore the unexplained, the supernatural, the paranormal and hidden, the mysterious, the alien, the accursed, and the forbidden. I am your host, Miss Bumblebee. Welcome to the show. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you want to catch Cryptic Corner live, though, you got to be here on a Saturday morning, like these cool kids over here. Everybody in the side chat, I think you come up on, which side does my chat come up on? This side or this side? Yeah, one of these sides. If you want to be part of that crowd that's in the side chat right now, absolutely join us on Saturday morning. Engage with the chat. We do all kinds of polls and stuff in the side chat. We do a lot of audience interactions. I read your comments. I take super chats, and not on this show or not on Saturday mornings, but on Charlatans Web we do shots. So all kinds of fun stuff to do in the Hive. So join us on Saturday morning for Live from the Hive, and then on right now we're doing it Monday evening. I don't, it might change, but which for Charlatans Web. Good morning to the live chat too. Thank you so much for being here. We are covering a ghostly topic in Cryptic Corner today. People wonder, sometimes I get some haters about me calling the show Cryptic Corner. It's wild to people get like stupid invested in it, and I've had like paragraphs long argue. I don't mind doing it because I like to argue with people anyway, and the more they engage in my comment section, the better it is for me. So like haters come at me about it, but I call the show Cryptic Corner because cryptic means hidden. Cryptid means hidden creature, but not all the stuff we talk about are creatures. Today, like we're talking about a ghostly entity. I wouldn't call a phantom monk a creature. So it's a cryptic being, not a cryptid, but they are all hidden entities. Or alleged hidden entities, I should say, because the things that I'll cover here are generally things that I don't believe are real, or I believe are misidentification of other phenomena, and we'll talk about that. We will crack that open for sure, but let's get into it. So, when it comes to the phantom monk phenomena, it's usually in old ruins like this, right? And there's encounters that range from fleeting glimpses of a robed figure to like full interactions where they engage with the individual phantom in conversation. And we're going to cover the whole spectrum of it today on Cryptic Corner. There's a lot to get through here, though, so this is going to be a long episode. The whole show might be long, because the longer I can keep my brain focused on this instead of other things going on in the world, the better. All right, so let's get started. I got 3 videos here. Actually, I might shuffle them around and put the longest one last, and speed that one up quite a bit, so...
For nearly 100 years, people have been experiencing strange goings-on inside the grounds of the Thetford Priory, including apparitions of monks, strange unexplained noises, and even...
And yeah, there's this rain going on throughout this whole video. It does make it hard to hear at some parts, but I do like the aesthetic of it being rainy. Having it presented as a gloomy UK monastery ruin or priory ruin is... yeah, it's fitting.
Manifestation of parts of the buildings that no longer stand. Originally founded in 1103 by Roger Bigod, a close associate of William the Conqueror, the monastery is one of the largest and most important in all of Norfolk. The priory was built in dedication to Our Lady, the Mother of Jesus. It's said that in the 13th century, Mary the Virgin herself appeared to locals in a vision, requesting the construction of a lady chapel at the priory, making the site a magnet for pilgrims.
You'd think they would have taken better care of it.
In the 1500s,
That's the state of it now.
during the reign of King Henry VIII, the monastery became abandoned due to the dissolution of the monasteries. From this point onwards, the priory fell into disrepair, resulting in the state we see it in today.
Look how tall some of that stuff is, though. Still, I mean, these ancient ruins really stood the test of time, all things considered. I mean, this is centuries of decay, and we still have, what is that? That's probably, I don't want to speculate on how tall it is, but I want to say it's at least 30 meters tall still. Aw, thank you, Lil. Every penny, any penny that you all could spare. Yeah. And like I said, you can drop super chats. A better way to support is through the Buy Me Coffee, because I have a little access to that now. And I've actually gotten some donations. Holy shit. Oh, wow. Okay. I should mention, thank you so much, Regios, for your $50 donation. I want to make sure that I'm treating any kind of donation equally here. Absolutely floored by your generosity, friends and family. Appreciate you. All right, this young lady is going to give us some story too. She's the one that's harder to hear that I was talking about.
Like many other abbeys and priories of a similar age, the buildings here have been reduced to eroded lumps of stone sticking out of the ground. Fortunately, some areas of the priory have been preserved a lot better, meaning that we get a much more accurate representation of what it would have looked like originally.
That part of it doesn't look like it's in such bad shape. The archway's still standing. It's got Roman style pillars. Yeah, the emulation of ancient Rome is really there, isn't it? The Catholic Church really just, like, I don't know, splash it everywhere. Or are these, am I wrong? Someone correct me if I'm wrong. Are these aren't Protestant structures, are they? This is, I would say this is, I'm thinking this is before Protestant Reform. They said the 16th century. But I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. I'm absolutely, I get dates wrong all the time. There's only so much room in here for the minutia. But I want to say that this was like Rome funded.
In more recent years, Thetford Priory has been the site of many strange occurrences, from sightings of ghostly monks to apparitions of demolished parts of the monastery.
Oh, sweetie, it's okay, Native Atheist. I appreciate anything and everything that any of you all can do to help a girl out. For real, I am floored, and I appreciate all of you. The Virgin Mary was the Elvis of her time. There were sightings all over. Yeah, we've covered a few. We covered the Our Lady Fatima, the Miracle of the Sun. I think that was in Spain in the early 20th century, so almost 400 years after this one.
The first known reports of a haunting began back in 1937, when a group of visitors reported hearing the sound of what they believed to be monks chanting and reading in Latin.
I want to hear that. That sounds awesome. I like that spire too. I don't think it was supposed to be a spire,
chanting and reading in Latin.
Look at that. Look at that. Oh man, it passes it by too quick.
Chanting and reading in Latin.
I love the, it's like a Tim Burton thing sticking up there. I love it.
In 1992, a group of 4 university students were returning home one afternoon when they chose to walk through the grounds of the Thetford Priory. As they walked, they chatted and joked amongst themselves, but noticed how quiet and lonely the ruins of the Priory seemed to be, especially in the middle of summer. They split up and wandered
it doesn't look quite as cool from that angle, though.
a while before regrouping at the front near the main archway. All of a sudden, the four friends got the feeling of being watched and turned around to see a figure of a person looking down at them from a top floor window. Shocked, they watched as the figure turned and walked away across the stairway where it stood and looked at them. The friends, who all thought that what they'd seen was a joker trying to play a trick on them, went to investigate. They ran into the doorway, by which time the figure had retreated back up the flight of stairs. One shouted, "Let's get him!" and they charged at the staircase, only to fall down on top of one another. There was no staircase, and more importantly, the figure they had seen could...
That's a typical style of haunting sightings. Like when I was doing paranormal investigations, how many times it was we saw a figure in a window, in an upstairs window, and then we went in to investigate and there was no one there. Is like very I don't want to say that it's like the most common initial sighting of ghostly apparitions, but I think a lot of it has to do with the reflective surface. Now in this case, there's no glass here though, so that can't be what's happening here. But this is also a report from the 30s, so it's hard to it's hard to corroborate the story. The records are going to be folkloric, or they're going to be word of mouth passed down.
Not have been real. The students ran out of the priory and back to their car out of sheer fear.
This is like student... Yeah, exactly. Like he said, the students just want to clarify that, yeah, this is a story that they tell around the campus or whatever, right? Around the schoolyard.
And terror at what they had seen.
Oh my gosh, more super chats. Thank you so much. Appreciate you. Ian Davenport, you are a rock star. I got a super sticker, and it says thank you. No, thank you. You rock. Appreciate you.
Since the experience, all four men have gone on to become scientists in some form or another, and none of them can be explained what they experienced here at the Priory. After the event, they all wrote down what they experienced on a piece of paper and shared with one another what they saw. They noticed that although some details differ slightly, for example the clothes the apparition was wearing, the majority of the stories say...
The clothes that they're wearing, when all you can see is the clothes that they're wearing, that's a big difference though. If it was wearing a shrouded monk robe, right? And then the other person said it was wearing a Shakespearean costume. That's a big difference, considering that when it's the shrouded monk, which is what I'm expecting it to be, you would expect some consistency on that.
Adding even more validity to this claim.
Welcome back to our channel, where the dead
right.
refuse to stay silent.
We're on episode 2. A true ghost story, the Phantom Monk of Glastonbury Abbey. All right. This is a new one. So the last one was just, I guess, that was they said that there were other ghost encounters too, but it didn't. The only one they told us about was the students that were like, oh, let's get him, like Ghostbusters style at the beginning. You know what Ghostbusters was like, get her, and she turns into the Rah, except for instead of turning into the Raw, she just disappeared, or he just disappeared, and they ran into each other. All right, hopefully this one's more interesting, has more details for us. Doesn't look like there's much here though. Is this just a lone tower that looks like a chess piece?
What if centuries-old monks are still walking among us, reaching out from beyond the grave to tell their story? You're walking through the ruins of Glastonbury Abbey as the sun sets,
Ooh,
The mist is rolling in,
he's pretty.
and suddenly you hear it. A low, haunting chant, echoing from somewhere you can't see. Your blood runs cold because you know for certain that you're completely
I
alone.
wonder if we can get down to Glastonbury Abbey on the map. I'm the map, I'm the map, I'm the map. Let's see. Glastonbury Abbey. There we go. Is this the ruins? Yep, it is. Let's see. King Arthur's tomb. No shit. And this is haunted? Interesting. Okay. What's our sign say? Site of King Arthur's tomb. In the year 1191, the bodies of King Arthur and his queen were said to have been found on the south side of the Lady Chapel. On the 10th of April, 1278, their remains were removed in the presence of King Edward I and Queen Eleanor to a black marble tomb on the site. This tomb survived until the dissolution of the abbey in 1539. So you got King Arthur's tomb in here. Why? Maybe it's haunted by wizards too. Can Merlin haunt this? Let's see. Is there another place we can drop down? So what's up over here? Let's look. Now we can kind of see it from the outside. I think we can walk down too. Yeah. We sure can. All right. Look at this place. Where do the ghosts sleep at night? How long do ghosts last too? I always wonder that because, like, you know, they can't last forever. Else we'd be like dealing with dinosaur ghosts and stuff. Or if even if only humans have ghosts, we'd be dealing with like Neanderthal ghosts and stuff. We'd be dealing here in North America. We'd be dealing with like Native American and Clovis people ghosts. So how long do they last, and why do the monks last longer than the rest of them? Maybe they'll tell us.
Or are you? Welcome to one of England's most haunted places, where the dead refuse to stay buried. For nearly 500 years, people have been seeing the same terrifying thing at Glastonbury Abbey. Monks who shouldn't exist anymore. Monks who were brutally murdered in 1539. Yet somehow they're still here, still walking these ancient stones. And they have unfinished business. A family visiting the Abbey last year got more than they bargained for when they witnessed something that still haunts them. They were exploring the ruins when they saw a figure in brown robes standing perfectly still among the ancient stones. The father called out, thinking it was a reenactor or guide. But when they looked again, the figure had simply vanished. One moment he was there, clear as day, the mother later told friends. The next moment, nothing. Like he just melted into the stones.
The Melting Monk of Glastonbury Abbey. I like that name better. Can we call him the Melting Monk instead of the Phantom Monk?
This family isn't alone. They're just the latest in a long line of people who've encountered the Phantom Monks of Glastonbury Abbey. People who came here as skeptics and left as believers. In 1900, 2 American ladies got lost in the Abbey grounds just as it was about to close.
Yeah, that's like this story. They're Americans too. They got to be Americans. They just say Americans, right? Yeah, 2 Americans.
2 American ladies got lost.
I'm guessing that means they're from the U.S. Generally, when people say Americans, they mean people from the U.S. Because if they're from anywhere else, they'll say the name of the country.
Abbey grounds just as it was about to close. They were starting to panic when a kindly monk approached them. He wore the brown robes of a Benedictine brother and had a gentle, reassuring voice. "Don't worry," he said. "I'm Father Benedictus. Let me show you the way out."
Let me pull it back.
He led them safely to the exit, chatting pleasantly about the Abbey's history. The ladies were so grateful that they returned the next day to thank him properly. But when they asked for Father Benedictus, the staff looked confused. "There's no one here by that name," they said. "There never has been." The ladies described the monk in detail. The staff exchanged...
So, like, if there never has been, then who is he, and how did he learn English? Like, or modern English. That's crazy. Was he speaking modern English? Like, the ghosts update their dialect for American tourists. I love that so American tourists could understand him. Because, like, if you look at, like, okay, so this abbey was, like we just read, it was like the 13th century or so, or then the abbey was dissolved, I guess it said in the 15th or 16th century. Anyway, regardless, a monk from that era would not speak in such a way that U.S. tourists would understand what they were saying. Even just basic stuff, the basic conversational stuff, like, because there's no languages evolve, but the fact that he was also talking kindly and telling them the history of the abbey and stuff makes me feel like maybe they ran into some kind of reenactor.
Worried glances. They'd heard this story before, many times. Father Benedictus has been helping lost visitors for over a century. He appears most often around dusk, always wearing the same brown robes, always with that same gentle smile. But here's the thing.
Aunt Jur says that she didn't vote for the sexy goat man because the phantom monks were too intriguing. That's understandable. Phantom monks are intriguing. I doubt we're going to get any real answers about what causes the phenomena. My main thought would be, like, at this point, like with this story especially, would be some kind of reenactor or prankster. So let me give an example of what I know from personal experience. So in my town, I talk about this all the time. There's a Confederate monument in front of the courthouse, right, in the town I grew up in. And I guess every year, allegedly, on the anniversary of the Palmyra massacre, a phantom of some kind comes and ties a mysterious ribbon, yellow ribbon, around the monument every year, and no one ever sees who does it or anything. It's a ghost doing it or some kind of woo, but you know it's a person doing it. It's a store-bought yellow ribbon, and it updates the ribbon updates its material and quality and appearance over time. You know, from being just like originally it was literally like a yellow cloth ribbon that would be tied around there, and then now it's a Dollar General purchased ribbon. You can go to the Dollar General and see the same one, but people still like tell the story, right, that this happened, and somebody's doing it. Somebody is partaking in the tying of the ribbon on the statue every year as a tradition. So it wouldn't surprise me at all if somebody wasn't doing something like that with these old abbeys and priories and rectories and all these old buildings that are allegedly haunted across the UK. Just food for thought.
That makes people's skin crawl. No monk named Benedictus has ever lived at Glastonbury Abbey. So who is this helpful spirit, and why won't he rest? To understand that, we need to go back to
I think they were talking to two Victorian American ladies. They're talking to two American tourists. But 1539, they would have been speaking like Shakespearean, right? They've been they would have been able to. There would have been like things that they could have picked out about it, but like conversational. I mean, I don't know. Maybe you're right and I'm wrong, Sumami. On that, I I've heard actual like from the colonial time periods and stuff, and read things. And I'm like, I wouldn't be able to understand what they were talking. Ooh, a good example is the Witch, the movie The Witch. They allegedly, that's actual. I mean, that's would be what, 17th century English, but still, how hard it is to understand the people talking in that. Please don't ask me to interpret English from Chaucer's tales. Yeah, there's entire professions built around that, I guess, which is cool. I just, I guess monks would be more familiar with linguistics than anybody from their time period too, right? They'd have been the record keepers, because this is pre-Gutenberg, so these people would monks from that period of time would have been the record keepers of history, really. Historians.
November 15th, 1539. The day 3 innocent monks were dragged through the streets and brutally executed on Glastonbury Tor. Their crime? Refusing to hand over their abbey to King Henry VIII. Richard Whiting, the elderly abbot, along with monks John Thorne and Roger James, were hanged, drawn, and quartered in one of the most savage acts of Henry's reign. Their heads were stuck on spikes as a warning to others. But death wasn't the end of their story. It was just the beginning. Almost immediately after the executions, people started reporting strange encounters.
Listen, you try to put my head on a spike as warning to others, you're just going to make them mad. But that's, I mean, during all these types of raids on these monasteries and stuff during this time period, because like all these monasteries were taken out, they are dissolved, I guess. The reach of the church was no longer there. So there had to have been thousands of years of written records described by these monks. I mean, I shouldn't say thousands of years, hundreds of years. Let's say hundreds of years that were destroyed in these types of raids too. It makes me sad to think of all the history that we would have lost. Maybe we would actually know where King Arthur is buried.
Monks walking through walls, voices chanting in empty ruins, shadows moving where no shadows should be. The sightings have never stopped. During the 1970s, the Ghost Club sent investigators to the abbey. One member walked into the ladies' chapel.
I could see the point, especially if they thought he was like a reenactor or something. Because I could see someone who was hired to play a monk and walk around the abbey and tell the history of it might be expected for them to speak in theatrical old English, just sell it. So that makes sense too.
And froze in terror. Ahead of him was a procession of figures in white robes, all walking silently toward the exit. He thought he was witnessing some kind of ceremony and hurried to catch
Yeah, that's the tagline from The Mummy. Death is only the beginning. That sexy, the sexy Arabic dude, the Magi guy, the one who says it, I believe.
up. But as he reached the center of the chapel, something incredible happened. He felt himself being pulled into what he described as a vortex. The world spun around him, and when it stopped, the figures had vanished. He was completely alone.
Now, this is the question here. Would you follow? I'm going to end this poll. Let me see. Actually, let's look at the poll real quick. I'll end it here, but we'll look at it. The no such thing as ghosts. 70% of you all don't believe in ghosts. 20% of you all that voted, only 10 votes, but said forever. And then 1,000 years, 10%. 10% of y'all. So that's just one person. Huh. Yeah, the monasteries were dissolved in the king's divorce. Yeah, because the king's divorce was also the church's divorce. The sigh. Yeah. But anyway, yeah, Bugbot's been asking... I think he should have been asking. He's programmed to ask. if you would follow the monks into this void. Would you follow the monks into this void?
But the most active hauntings happen at the George and Pilgrims Hotel, just down the street from the Abbey. Built in the 15th century to house wealthy pilgrims, the hotel is now home to some very permanent guests. The most famous is what people call the fat and cheerful monk. Unlike the sad spirits at the Abbey,
I want a fat, cheerful monk ghost. Can he be little too? Like little bitty? And like kind of float around behind me as like a little floating monk. Maybe he could do Gregorian chants.
this ghost seems genuinely happy. Guests often see him walking through walls from one room to another, laughing as he goes.
I want to
One
see
night,
him. If I ever go to the UK, take me here. Take me to this Abbey hotel place. I want to see the fat, jolly, laughing monk ghost. That sounds lit as fuck.
visitor was woken up when she felt someone bump into her bed. She opened her eyes to see a jolly monk in brown robes grinning at her before disappearing through the wall. The tragic story behind this cheerful spirit makes his laughter even more unsettling. According to legend, this monk fell desperately in love with a local woman.
You know this is AI because look at these bedposts. Okay, so this one lines up with this corner, and this one lines up with the middle here. But it's like non-Euclidean geometry. It's like this is MC Escher's bed. At least, well, the chair's kind of weird too. Look at that. It's got one armrest to a backrest, and there's no armrest on that side. And these windows are wild too. Though at least they're consistent with one another. It's as much as can be expected. What weird geometry is this?
They would meet secretly through underground tunnels that connected the hotel to the Abbey. When their affair was discovered, the guilt and shame drove the monk to take his own life in what's now called the haunted cell.
Oh
Yet
no.
somehow, even in death, he seems to have found peace. Maybe that's why he laughs. But not all the Abbey's ghosts are so friendly. People report
The bro committed suicide and he gets to laugh in the afterlife? That conflicts with every mythology I know of when it comes to suicide. They all say, oh no, you're going to go to some bad place.
being touched by invisible hands. They feel a presence following them through the ruins. Some visitors have described seeing a monk with a face that was a mass of pulverized flesh being eaten by maggots.
Yikes.
Some encounters happen.
That could be a mask too, though. We're getting like a history lesson in the side chat. Let me check this out. Let's see. Imagine getting a divorce, and as a result, thousands of people lose their jobs and homes. Yeah, well, he was stupid thinking his wife's uncle was going to grant him a divorce from her after 20 years of marriage. Henry VIII seized all the land and money. All that just so he could get his dick wet. Exactly. Shameful. I want to try their fish and chips at that bar. Or at that inn. I'd order their fish and chips. According to Marion Zimmer Bradley, Glastonbury is in superposition with the Isle of Avalon in the midst dimension. Well, I'll be damned. That explains nothing at all, but it sounds cool. Want to know something I find funny? On my mother's side, were related to the Bassett sisters, who were in Queen Jane and Anne of Cleves court, and one of them got chucked into the Tower temporarily for talking shit about Henry. All she said was, what kind of man is the king? Because his ass kept getting divorced and remarried and banging these court ladies still. She was right. Okay, yeah. He was a dirty bastard. Most of the royals seem to be.
And when visitors hear the chanting, it usually starts as a whisper, so faint you think you're imagining it. But it grows louder and more distinct until you can clearly hear Latin prayers echoing through the empty ruins. The voices come from everywhere and nowhere. When people try to find the source, the chanting stops. But the moment they relax, it starts again. Visitors often describe seeing things from the corner of their eyes. A flash of brown
you're
robes
talking about Mist of Avalon. Sorry, Ember, I didn't catch on to that. I'm familiar with it, but I've never read it.
disappearing around a corner. A figure standing in a doorway that's empty when they look directly at it. Shadows that move against the light. These sightings happen in broad daylight.
I mean,
when
shadows generally do move against the light, though, right? I mean, that's my expectation. I don't know.
there's no logical explanation for what people are seeing. Some people smell things too. The phantom fragrance of incense drifts through buildings that haven't held religious services for centuries. The scent is so strong.
Yeah, but the Wiccan kids probably come out here at night because we looked at this is the middle of the city, right? Like if you zoom out, we're not in like a rural district. This is in the middle of town, right? So would not surprise me one bit if like the witchy kids come out here at night and burn incense and do ceremonies and stuff.
Strong and realistic that visitors often look around for the source, but there's never anything there. Local residents have their own stories.
That's what I'm saying, Cap. There you actually, again, going back to the town I grew up in, there was like out like, I don't know, 15, 20 miles from town, there was the ruins of an old church. It wasn't like a abbey or a cathedral or anything. It's just an old church. But the kids would go out there and do their make-out sessions and also their ghost hunting and try to see spooky shit, especially around Halloween time.
Monks fishing by the River Brew, even though no one fishes there anymore. They've watched robed figures walking along paths that disappeared centuries ago, following routes that only existed when the abbey was whole. The spirits seem drawn to specific locations. The Ladies' Chapel is particularly active, the ruins of the great church, the area where the altar once stood. These were the holiest places in the abbey, where prayers were said for hundreds of years. Maybe that's why the monks return.
You can tell it's the holiest because it's got all these holes. See, there's one right there, there. There's one there. Did these have glass in them at this? I mean, presumably they did. So I wonder if we can find if you can find pieces of colored glass in this buried under the windows. I wonder.
Maybe they're still trying to fulfill their sacred duties, even in death.
Also, good morning, Kip and Sapphire. And anybody else I missed, I'm not trying to be rude.
Encounters happen to people who work at the abbey. Security guards report seeing monks on their night patrols. Maintenance workers find evidence that someone has been in areas that were locked and secured. One guard described following a monk through the ruins for several minutes, calling out to him to stop. The figure never responded, never turned around, just kept walking. When the guard finally caught up, the monk simply vanished into thin air.
You could just do like the they do in London and just go to other countries and just bring their artifacts back and put them in your garden. Right? That's how we do it. That's how the U.S. does it too. I shouldn't just say it's all the U.K. The U.K. is kind of famous for it, especially doing it to Egypt. Because all the colonizing. That's why they have all the diamonds that came from India and Africa. All the crown jewels and stuff. They have all that stuff. All the mummies and the kings. Riches from ancient Egypt, all that stuff. The London, I think it was the London Museum has like all of it. So, I mean, it's only fair that we could go over and take pieces of their abbey and build our own abbey ruins in our backyards. And then you don't have to worry about digging. Oh no, what happened? Hopefully it's okay. Yeah, it's okay. I thought I got...
These aren't just stories from long ago. The sightings continue today. Just last year, multiple visitors reported seeing a monk walking through the abbey grounds in broad daylight. He appeared solid and real until he walked straight through a
I want to get a job as a grotto hermit.
stone wall. Staff members have stopped being surprised when visitors ask about the monks they've seen. It happens so often that it's become part of working there. What makes these stories so intriguing is how consistent they are.
It's probably part of their advertising campaign, actually, for the people giving tours of the abbey. I'm sure that there are places that are like, come with us and see the Phantom Monk. I bet they even have like nighttime tours where you can come and try to catch glimpses and ghost tours and stuff like that. These type of places capitalize on that.
For 5 centuries, people have described the same things. Brown-robed figures, gentle faces, the sound of Latin prayers, the smell of incense. These witnesses come from all walks of life, tourists and locals, believers and skeptics, children and adults. Yet they all report remarkably similar experiences. The same brown robes, the same gentle but otherworldly presence, the same feeling of being watched by eyes they cannot see. The Phantom Monks of Glastonbury don't seem angry or vengeful. They appear sad, lost, like they're searching for something they can't find. Maybe they're looking for their abbey, the way it used to be. Maybe they're trying...
I don't want to be a ghost, I don't think. If I was to be something, like an undead, I had to like live on after death. Can I be revenant, like a skeleton? Like, you know, the movie Poltergeist, the skeletons all pop up and stuff. I want to do that instead of being a sad ghost walking around who can't really interact with the real world. I mean, there's things like Danny Phantom made me want to be a ghost. Like Danny Phantom makes it look cool, but if I can't turn back solid, if I can't turn back into a human like Danny, then what's the point? But if I'm a skeleton, well, there's all kinds of cool stuff that I can do. At least until my sinew falls off, and then you could rebuild my bones into different stuff. That would be kind of cool.
To complete prayers that were interrupted by violence. Or maybe they're still serving others, the way Father Benedictus helps lost visitors find their way. It's possible that they don't know they're dead, that they're still going about their daily routines, unaware that their world ended 500 years ago. Whatever the truth, one thing is certain. The Phantom Monks of Glastonbury Abbey are real to those who encounter them, and they show no signs of...
Sumami, if I'm ever have fuck you money, I will hire you to be my grotto monk. For sure.
...departing anytime soon. So the next time you visit these ancient ruins, pay attention to the shadows between the stones. Listen carefully to the wind through the broken walls.
Hells
And
yeah.
if you hear the sound of distant chanting, don't dismiss it as your imagination. You might be hearing voices from beyond the grave. Voices that have been trying to tell their story for 5 centuries.
Well, then I'll record it, and then we'll have somebody who speaks Latin translate it, and we can figure out what their message is.
Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this story and want more, please subscribe to the channel and give the video a thumb.
Alright. The Presence in the Priory, the Phantom Monk of Pritterwell. Now, there's no way we're going to get through this whole video. But this was the one I originally was going to cover, just all alone. But then I was like, oh my gosh, this is a whole phenomena. There's like all sorts, and this is just in the UK. There's all sorts of monks haunting the UK. So I added to it, just these shorter videos. Like one was like 6 minutes, one was like 10 minutes. But this one's long, and it was meant to be like the whole episode. So we might not get through all of it. But what I'm going to do, we probably won't get through all of it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to speed it up before we even get started to 1.5 speed and turn on the closed captions. Horsey.
Wait here.
What's going on? true things.
The Essex seaside city of Southend has a curious origin in its name. You would expect it to be on the southernmost tip of England, but a quick glance at a map reveals that this is far from the case. Rather, the name refers to the southern end of Prittlewell, a former civil parish, and the original settlements in the area, with roots in the Roman occupation. The name Prittlewell is of Saxon origin, and was a fairly major settlement. Indeed, some evidence of the Saxon habitation remains. A 10th or 11th century arch is visible in one wall of St Mary's Church. It has long been considered to be the remains of the first Anglo-Saxon chapel on this site. In 2003, on nearby Priory Crescent, archaeologists from the Museum of London Archaeology excavated an entire prince's burial chamber, complete with a rich assortment of exotic grave goods from a Mediterranean copper alloy basin.
How long does someone have to be dead before it's like cool to desecrate their grave, I wonder? Like, I know archaeology needs to happen, but like, you can go out to like the cemetery and just start opening graves, but I mean, you can't go out to the cemetery and start opening graves, but you can like go to a mound like this and start pulling out the grave goods,
which are probably Indian or Sri Lankan. Radiocarbon dating from a drinking horn revealed a burial date of between 580 and 605 AD, making it the earliest Anglo-Saxon Christian burial ever discovered. Priory Park, which borders this incredible site, also has a rich and lengthy Christian past.
Out of coffee now. No more coffee. Thank you, PC, for advertising, and good morning. Also, hi, Titan. I don't know if I said hi to you earlier, but I saw you come in. Simply Secular Dave, too. Good morning. Yeah, there's the Buy Me Coffee link. That's the best way to show me support. But you do what you got to do. Appreciate any kind of donation at all. Any kind of love you can send my way. And I don't know. I don't know how to thank the people who have donated this morning. It's been a rough one.
Prittlewell Priory, from which the park takes its name, dates to 1110, during the reign of King Henry I. Prittlewell was owned and managed by the Clunic Order, which was founded in the Abbey of Cluny, Burgundy, in 910. They were a mostly silent order, living in a complete seclusion from the rest of the world. So adverse to speaking were the Clunics that they developed a basic form of sign language to communicate with one another. However, despite the appearance of total tranquility at Prittlewell Priory, its walls hold a violent history.
Oh boy.
Prittlewell was the daughter priory of St Pancras in Lewes, Sussex. As such, its priors would be appointed from there, with the king accepting the nomination of each subsequent prior. In 1311, William de Overnat was appointed as prior of Prittlewell. 3 years into his position, however, William was found guilty of inappropriate behaviour during a visit to London. In response, the prior of St Pancras requested that he be replaced. However, the king did not accept this proposal. While this dispute was ongoing, another man, Adam de Osgobedi, was appointed keeper of the priory.
So we're getting some history of the priory, but I want to get to the ghost.
In order to keep it in good running order. A prolonged conflict ensued between the two priories, with William attempting to take the priory by force on 2 occasions. By 1321, the prior of St Pancras had exhausted his patience.
So weird that like priories and abbeys and stuff get caught up in wars like this.
And sent 2 monks accompanied by their own armed forces to Prittlewell. They ambushed the priory as William was taking mass, forcefully striking him over the head and dragging him out of the building. He later died of his wounds. After the dissolution of the monasteries under Henry VIII, the priory and its grounds passed between...
There's that guy, Henry VIII. He's responsible for 90% of monk hauntings. Henry VIII created a lot of monk ghost. That should be what he's most famous for. Creating the most monk ghost in all of England. Probably the most monk ghost in all of the world, if I'm being honest. Can you think of anybody else responsible for more monk ghosts than Henry VIII? Okay. Jesus, to be fair. Jesus, yeah. But other than Jesus...
landowners. Under the ownership of Richard Rich, all of the buildings, with the exception of the refectory, cellar, and the 14th century prior's chamber, were pulled down. The last family to live in the priory were the 19th century Scrattons. They made many alterations to the already heavily modified building, including a parlour and a library. They also constructed a large walled garden over the monks' burial ground. Perhaps this was the one area they shouldn't have disturbed. As you may already have...
Okay, now we're getting into the spooky. So they disturbed the monks' burial ground. Where this is, now we're getting like poltergeist plot.
Prittlewell Priory and the surrounding grounds hold a plethora of supernatural tales. The most widely discussed is, unsurprisingly, the apparition of a monk, who is often sighted on the path leading to the original cloisters and the now demolished Minstrel's Gallery. There are numerous legends attached to this classic spectre. A popular tale surrounds a monk falling in love with a local girl and breaking his vow of chastity. After the monastic authorities...
That's what happened to the fat Jolly one, too. How come this guy can't find happiness like he can? Sounds like a him problem.
...wind of the affair, the monk was executed and the girl imprisoned in the priory. However, some versions of the story suggest that the monk was killed for practicing black magic. Others believe that the phantom monk is actually the
Hell
spirit
yeah, I love black magic. Oh. If I had a rock band, it'd be called the Black Magic. No, I don't know. It'd be called something cooler than that. But I've had lots of bands. I had a band called... My favorite band name that I ever had was Pumpkin Bread. It was spelled punk, P-U-N-K, and then in bread, like... It was pumpkin bread, and it was like on a loaf of pumpkin bread. We didn't ever put any music out, but we did have some songs. I can still remember some of them. Kind of want to play one. maybe after Breeze Bestiary, I'll play some jams or something.
the rebellious Prior William, eternally refusing to surrender his position.
But the band I had the most fun with was Slim Pickens, even though our singer was a total douche nugget. It was fun.
To Lewis. Muddying the waters further is a 1960s archaeological dig, which uncovered a peculiar burial.
Quite a violent atmosphere in the Priory, and in the 1960s there was an excavation in the Priory grounds, and the archaeologists uncovered some burial places of what they assumed were monks or priors, and one of the monks had been buried face downwards.
Which means?
Which means he was buried facing hell.
Maybe he was buried telling the world to kiss his ass. That's also a possibility. Bury me face down so the world can kiss my ass. We gotta do the dab, right? You can't see my dab though. If I move this way.
Oh, crikey.
Now this in Middle Ages parlance
Did you say crikey?
was you facing hell.
Oh, crikey.
Now this in Middle Ages parlance was usually indicative of somebody who'd committed some sort of misdemeanor. And it's
Are these the
A
remains?
misdemeanor. You're going to hell for jaywalking. Going to hell for these unpaid parking tickets. I want to be buried face down. I don't want to be buried at all. Well, you can bury me. I'd rather be buried curled up, though, with like holding my knees like this. And then wrapped in like the root ball of a tree. So I could be a haunted forest.
Of the lovesick monk who was put to death? Or is there another tragic narrative attached to them, last discussed by mouths which spoke centuries ago, of which we will now never hear? The spectral monk has also been sighted near the ponds at the other side of the park, which were originally fished by Cluniacs all those years ago. Supposedly, the squawking of wildfowl heralds the ghost's presence. The fish pond has also been associated with a phantom bride who drowned there.
So, like, squawking of waterfowl does not mean that there's a ghost at the pond. What a weird thing to imply. Going to hell for being illegal, yeah.
Although, the origin of this small piece of folklore has not been determined. Several hauntings at Prittlewell surround the private owners from the 16th century onwards. One story tells of a resident who cut his own throat so severely that he nearly severed his own head. His semi-decapitated apparition is another figure who is said to roam the grounds. Within the priory itself...
He's nearly headless. So, that tells me the wizard books don't have any original ideas.
Several witnesses have reported the sound of children playing, and, rather eerily, giggling. Is it possible that these are the Scratton children? For them, the historic building and gardens must have been like one giant playground. Some of the Scratton children even wrote about the ghost stories in their diaries.
But did the Scratton children die? If they didn't die, why are there ghosts haunting the priory?
Another mysterious audible phenomenon recounted in the park in recent years is a chorus of onward Christian soldiers heard late at night. With countless overlapping and interlinking stories residually collected over many centuries, I think it's ample time to find out if any of them are more than just legend.
It is. Let's do this. Go to to the Priory. The investigation. Yeah, I like Green Burial. Bob Ross would be an excellent band name. Everybody loves Bob Ross. Yeah.
I was trying to get away from the noise of the traffic, but I've arrived here at Prittlewell on a rather pleasant Tuesday evening, and this is the Saxon burial, which I thought I'd just stop off at before heading into the park over there.
The one that
It's not
was
marked.
the one that was robbed by archaeologists. They say it's robbed. Yeah, I mean, it's important to understand history. It's weird. I don't know where the line is to say, hey, it's okay to dig up these dead people now. Like, what about early American colonists, right? Like, is it okay to dig up their remains at this point?
Not signposted in any way. The only reason I know that mound is it is because of Google Maps.
It'd be cool if he caught some LARPers.
So I've now arrived at the park, and I wanted to get here while it was still daylight this time, just because it's such a large area that I'm going to be investigating today. And just wanted everyone who's watching to have an idea of, the size of the park. That's the priory down there. And yeah, kind of get their bearings a little bit. So I'm going to head over towards the fish ponds now.
The fish ponds? Where's the ruins, though? Oh no, squawking. It's waterfowl. If they squawk, the ghost will appear. Yeah, Bob Ross is a death metal band. Happy little trees, happy little trees. I used to sing in a death metal band called Meat Hook, but Hook was spelled H-U with an umlaut, K. And yeah, I played bass and I was the singer. And we sucked. It was like the first when I was very first learning to play. It was like one of the. I think it was the first band I was ever in that actually called itself a band. We did play a gig once though.
Passing what is known as Duck Island for obvious purposes. And it's supposed to be the screeching of wildfowl from that island that signals whenever a monk is present here.
Well, is there a monk there?
I don't know how many birds need to be screeching, but there's certainly a few chirping right now.
Cattails.
Strange to think that these ponds have been here for, probably well over 1,000 years at this point, and that the monks fished them. But of course now they're just modern housing right next door.
Yeah. It is cool to see. Yeah. More than one paleontologist has told me the lion is who you have to ask to excavate. If relatives, hard no, but if government, fair game. Interesting. Also, I think it depends on many factors, how they handle the remains, where the items go, and who profits from it. If descendants are properly notified, if feasible, and cultural connection. Were the fans called meat hookers? I don't think we had any fans. Yeah, I didn't get fans until I started. Which band was that? I never did play with Lost Hollow, but the bands and fans girls were part of that. I don't know when the first time I would have got fans. Slim Pickens had fans. They were all like over 50 though, because of the festivals and stuff that we played at. And how much time has passed? Digging up people who died 100 years ago, hard no. People 100 or 1,000 years ago, especially as part of an academic study, then yes.
And we're now approaching the priory itself. Just through these lovely trellises and Nice gardens here.
A little rose garden, that's cute. Do you stay until dark? He
Here
does.
we have the walled garden, built over the monk's burial ground.
Ooh. I'm just kind of fast forwarding through all this
So
stuff.
it's really starting to quiet down in the park now for ghosts.
Getting dark.
Heard a splash there.
Could it be a duck?
A fish.
Because there's little ducks everywhere.
Nearly pooed myself there because someone came around the path, but just a person, not a ghost.
Not a ghost. You're in a park.
Peaceful, but also eerie. Let's proceed. Mosquitoes are everywhere.
The mosquitoes. Are you gonna have a ghostly encounter? Somebody peed right there on the trail. Look, right there. I can see where they peed.
Let's go down to the
They
water
might dump their drink too. I don't know if they actually peed.
That scared the life out of me.
Don't let the orange one see the rose garden. He might pave over it, you know?
I'm assuming it was a bird of some sort.
Back on track.
No.
Is it spooky?
I think it's time to head on to the priory itself.
Yes, do it. Get your priory on.
Just approaching the exterior.
The spooky. I'm so stoked that it's spooky season finally. Let's keep it spooky out there, okay, Hive? Here I thought I heard the sound of children. Ooh, I love that door. That reminds me of the door with the claw prints on it from the giant black dog. Man, if I knew this guy was out here, I'd put on a monk robe and come running at him in the dark. Be funny. But
Oh, that scared the life out of me.
that's also probably a good way to get shot, too. Just the cloister path, that's where the monk was supposed to be seen.
Now, moving into the walled garden. Right. Really, I can't be sure that there isn't someone in here already.
In my country, you can only stay buried for 20 to 40 years in a cemetery. Oh my gosh, really?
There was a couple snogging in one of the back benches last time I was here, which is why I left so suddenly. But
Snogging. I like that term, snogging. It means like making out, right? Snogging. Sounds kind of gross.
I figure walking along one of these pathways at any moment. I do feel kind of a chill in my spine, actually. Ugh.
Flowers.
Maybe I'm gonna creep back.
Actually,
For this water feature here, really gave me the willies the last time I saw it. It's like this weird old lion head, and then these two fish.
they give you the willies.
It's a little bit creepy. I already thought I saw someone there.
Well, there might be people.
Or was it just a shadow? God, I really wish I could describe what these real shivers running down my spine.
Starting to feel very unsettled. A lot of this is about feelies.
Never had that on any of the investigations so far. I feel like someone walked over my grave or something.
In Soviet Russia, you hunt monk. That does look creepy, though, in the dark. With the fence wrapped around it like that.
This is freaky.
Spooky. Is there someone standing here, or is it a post? Okay. Is that it? That's the sighting? There's the post. You're looking at it at a different angle. Huh. I don't think that's... I miss fireflies too.
I think that's going to conclude us for tonight.
I want to go to the Highgate Cemetery, the famous one that we looked at when we talked about the Highgate vampire. Conclusion.
The priory and expansive surrounding area of the park have a very complex atmosphere. As night fell and the local population slowly trickled out of the grounds, I felt another presence emerging. It didn't feel like the presence of a...
Obviously, the dark, grainy shadow in the dark is a person. Duh. I'm sorry, Kep. You're right. I got to walk through a church graveyard in England, and I highly recommend it. Or in the one big one in Paris, the one like Jim Morrison's buried at. What's that one called? I'd love to go there. Or to the catacombs. Horror on the high desert, huh?
singular being or entity, but rather the centuries of history that this land holds. Perhaps it was just my extensive research and subsequent awareness of the history of the area that led to the sensation, but I'm not so sure. There were several anomalous happenings over the course of the investigation. When I was walking near the Priory building itself, I heard what sounded like the voices of children playing. At first, I didn't pay much attention to it, but then I realised that I hadn't heard or seen another person in the park for quite some time. It was past most children's bedtime. I thought back to the history of
It's still light outside. I mean, it's not super light, but it's like dusk or twilight.
generations of Scratton children playing throughout the building and grounds. Could I have tuned in to some long-forgotten energy echo, briefly slipped into another time? Or were a few living kids just mucking about late at night?
That's a bit of a stretch.
Unfortunately, the likely answer is the latter. While walking the path around the fish ponds, I heard what I can only describe as something heavy hitting the water. It almost sounded like a body. However, I think the most likely explanation here is that it was just a frightened duck who had been gobbling down a little too much bread. Still, it's easy to understand how rumours about a ghostly drowned bride could be sustained by
Here's
encounters
the
such
pea
as this.
spot. Is that your pea spot? You can tell us.
Although not really a tangible piece of evidence, I had an intensely fearful response to walking around the walled garden. I very literally felt shivers down my spine, and goosebumps all up my arms
Spooky, scary skeletons and shivers down my spine.
and legs. I felt certain that somebody else was present, watching me, following me. There is a reported phenomenon circulated amongst paranormal communities, that there is an intense change in the atmosphere before a paranormal event occurs. Now, while
You have to prove that paranormal events occur first before you can give it tributes to them.
it could very easily be argued that this change in atmosphere and subsequent happening is merely a result of an overactive imagination, I now
Well, the change of atmosphere might be triggering you to have the priming response to think something supernatural is happening.
understand what this feels like. I experienced it during those terrifying moments. Is there a possibility that the rapid development of society, industry and technology have made us lose touch with another sense? A forgotten awareness for which we have lost the need for, as we are no longer hunter-gatherers fighting for survival? Was my body and mind trying to deliver a message that something intelligent really was following me along those desolate, empty garden pathways?
No.
Perhaps it's an evolutionary fear response, and a rational one at that. A vast open space in the dark leaves the prey vulnerable on all sides to something that wishes to eat it. Whatever the case, I didn't witness anything tangible during tonight's investigation. Certainly no unequivocal evidence. However, for every location I investigate, I always leave with the intense gut feeling that there is something out there, and that feeling is not unsubstantiated. We know now that there are a small quantity of brain cells in the gut, but beyond this, instinct is what protected our
Small quantity of brain cells in the gut.
ancestors, and as a result, we are alive to contemplate such mysterious questions today. There is.
They're definitionally not brain cells if they're in your gut, though. They're gut cells.
Something out there. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.
All right. And that was a paranormal investigation by Edward King Thompson. And he has... Does this mysterious prehistoric animal still exist? Ooh, the Headless Horseman. But a nightmarish Irish legend of the Doulahan, not the one from the colonial U.S. Corvid intelligence. Interesting. So yeah, I'm subscribed to this channel. I think I like his delivery, his presentation. Don't think this was the first one I watched by him, but it was the most recent. Anyway, as far as Cryptic Corner goes, let's wrap things up. What do you all think about the Phantom Monks of... Well, this one was of Prittlewell, but we had Glastonbury Abbey. What was the other one? Let me see. The other one, Thedford Priory. So we had quite a few monks to pick from. Did you enjoy our little adventure into Cryptic Corner? Do you believe in ghosts? Do you think that there are ghosts haunting the abbeys in the wake of King Henry VIII's violent pushback against their mere existence as he tried to re-envision the church in his own image? Let me know down below in the comments, and please remember to be kind. Take care. We will see you next time.